we just take a breath. And even more if we need them, just as we move through this time of meditation, which Trish has just realized is going to be a silent meditation because I didn't get music out for it. So imagine, if you will, your own soundtrack underneath. Feel the beat of our heart. Feel that blood coursing through our veins. Invite each breath as it moves into our body, knowing that it is the very breath of God itself. Maybe you don't call it God. Maybe it is simply the essence of beingness, moving in and through who and what you are. We feel that every breath of source animation coursing through us as we relax in, moving deeper into a space of quiet, feeling that core of our God self, wherever that is for us, the heart, the solar plexus, wherever it might be. We allow ourselves to go to that seat of conscious awareness and invite it to open, knowing that this is a sacred, safe space in which to be with Source, in which to open, share, and receive Source guidance for whatever we might feel we need it for in our lives. We move a little deeper now into the space of heart. Where does love live within you, for you? Go to that space where you feel love begins within. Feel where that space is in you and allow yourself to bring your entire awareness, your entire breath, that breath of God itself, bring it to that space. Fill it and animate it with love, and then breathe it back out, loving. We bring in that breath of Source. We allow it to move through our entire body, reaching every cell, invigorating, enlivening, renewing us. And as we move it through our body, it becomes even more charged and energized with that Source guidance, that love, that spirit, that knowing. And as we breathe it back out into this room, sharing the breath of the One with each of us here, we also send it energetically to those who are with us virtually, knowing they are every bit as much in this room in spirit as we are. We feel ourselves connecting across the miles, knowing that they are simple geography, that spirit is everywhere, all at once. Feeling that love, we allow ourselves to share that with everyone in this space, to envision this space filling with that love, and then overflowing from that invisible substance, feeling it going out through the walls, out through the ceiling, out through the roof, down into our earth, through the floor. We feel it moving across our county into other counties, our state into other states, across oceans to other land masses and even more oceans. Knowing that as we feel from the very source of our being outward into existence, from center to circumference, we create unity in this world, breath by breath. Willing moment by willing moment. We allow that feeling of love and Source and light and illumination to continue expanding as we spend just a moment allowing it to radiate forth into silence. And then we allow that love to land wherever it's reached, to blanket everyone and everything in a kind of unconditional love that they may be unable to reach in skin. We know that it's there, whether we're able to achieve it moment by moment or not. We leave it there for everyone to be able to access, for clarity, for vision, for purpose, and for moving forward. We let that love land. We bring ourselves back to this time, this space, remaining open to all that is ours to receive, all that is ours to give and to share. Again, in that sacred safety, knowing that we are safe within our bodies, we are secure within our boundaries, and we are open within our sacred love. And so we say thank you. Thank you, God. And so it is. So the greatest love of all, it's about loving ourselves. It's about being able to love ourselves. Yeah, hard sometimes, as Joyce says. Yeah. You know, I find it so much easier to have patience and love and caring and understanding for everybody but me. You know, wow, it's such a fascinating dance that we do. First, I wanted to thank all of you and Mike for last Sunday. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you. He did, as usual, a fantastic job. And while you guys, I was thinking of you as I was flying, because about the same time you were beginning, I was somewhere over Florida or beyond by that point. But so I headed to Unity Village this week, as many of you know or might not know, for my winter residency. And yes, it was winter. Ooh. It was really cold. I brought all of the heaviest of everything I had and still wanted to just run from place to place. But you couldn't, because there was ice all over the place. They were salting everything, and it didn't necessarily always get salted. So before I step into more of my talk, which is, will I be my Valentine? And I'm going to invite all of us into that question. It's Valentine's week, and we spend so much of our energy and life and time sometimes looking for the Valentine out there, looking for the partner, the whatever it might be, that we don't always think about the fact that if we don't love us, it doesn't matter who steps into relationship with us, because we're going to continue playing out how much we don't love ourselves on the person in front of us. Because that's what everybody else is in this life for us. It's all mirroring for us what we need to heal, what we need to reveal, what we need to see, all of that. So before we ask anyone else on the outside to be our Valentine, it's really important that we take a long look in the mirror and ask ourselves. But as I did just come from Unity Village, this past week was the annual summit for Unity and Unity Worldwide Ministries. What many of you may not know, but it has been the source of confusion for those who have for years, Unity, from almost its outset, was set up as two separate organizations. Unity was never supposed to be a church. Unity was supposed to be an educational group where people could come to kind of research and delve into things educationally. Then they were supposed to just go ahead back to their church. Well, as time went on, people would go back to their church and just really feel like they didn't fit. And so they came to Charles and Myrtle, our founders of Unity, and said, well, we want a church. We want this to be our church. We want to explore these principles and these growing edges and these understandings, and we want this to be our church. So by that time, the organization for Unity World Headquarters had already been set up as not a church. And so when it came time to step into this, okay, well, we're going to want to ordain people as ministers. We're going to want to do all of these pieces that churches do. They set up a second organization called Unity Worldwide Ministry. Well, it wasn't called Unity Worldwide Ministries at the time. It is now called Unity Worldwide Ministries. But so there were these two organizations that came together to create Unity. Isn't it fascinating that an organization called Unity would have two organizations designed to represent its unity? Because when we have two different organizations, we set up teams. Whether we want to or not, whether we intend to or not, we've kind of set up separation from almost the outset of being Unity. And so for decades, there has been this conversation about one unity, about finding unity within our own organization so that we might then grow past our teenage years of rebellion against each other and figure out how we move forward as one unity. And there have been so many years, so many debates, so many fears, so many worries. Which organization would it be that would continue on as the organization? Nobody wanted to give up their organization. And so finally, this past week at this Unity Summit, it was decided upon. Now, the actual vote will happen a little bit later this year, but there were, out of the hundreds of people within this, there were literally 2 people that said no. So I'm not sure why. And they have their own why. Really isn't mine to figure out anyone else's why. It's mine to figure out mine. And so the idea now is that we will be moving forward in November. There will be another vote held, and then we will move forward as one unity organization. I am going to ask all of you, because see, those of us outside of that movement are like, oh yay, isn't that cool? And people in each organization are going, what in heaven's name does that mean? What's going to happen to my job? What's going to happen to my position? What's going to happen to what I do for Unity as I do it for Unity? And we have amazingly valuable professionals in both organizations, and we have 2 different boards of directors, and there's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen to come together to make these 2 organizations into one. So please, as we move forward, hold the energy of unity. What a shock! Hold the energy of unity as we move forward and become unity. And many of you likely remember Roxanne, who came. She was supposed to come and end our year and then got a lovely flu for Christmas. And so came the following Sunday, came and enjoyed our Whitestone service with us. And I can tell you she's still sharing that Whitestone service because I got to see her last week, and she's still vibing from our Unity community, which is wonderful. And it's a great thing because she is now the the CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries. So Roxanne is now the head of Unity Worldwide Ministries. So she accepted that promotion last week as well. So yay, Roxanne. Yay, us. Yay, Unity. And I got home at 8:30 last night. I started traveling at 7 o'clock yesterday morning. So I'm still kind of running on fumes and adrenaline and what's left over from the week of my residency. And I was sharing with some of us beforehand, these residencies and this path that I'm going through, it's designed to be the sandpaper. I heard Mike last week refer to those people in our lives that are the sandpaper. Thank you, God, for sandpaper, because it really works all the rough edges off. And the week that I just did is designed to be sandpaper for every one of us. And so we go there to be shaken awake, to look at where we are not seeing things we might need to see, to step into and out of our comfort zones, to grow, to come together as a cohort and love on each other and learn about each other and all of that kind of stuff. And so part of that week is just really to it's kind of like basic training. It's spiritually exhausting. It is so much to do to bring ourselves back to center. And so we all got there on Sunday. Sunday night we had our reception. By Monday morning, 2 of our members were sick. By Monday afternoon, one of them was cloistered in her hotel room with a fever of 102 and spent 2 days with I don't know what it was, some kind of flu, and ended up having to, once she could, Zoom into our cohort from her hotel room because she didn't want to come and be. One of our members this past year had cancer surgery, and so has just finished all of her radiation and chemotherapy, and we all are very protective of her, rebuilding her immunity. She is cancer-free, and she is rebuilding her immunity. So this love of self is huge for each one of us, stepping into that with her to keep her safe. She's always masked, and we always kind of allow her space to rebuild that immune system. So that's happening. Another member gets sick. Another member gets sick. By Wednesday, we had 3 people in hotel rooms, the rest of us in the room, which included a table that was masked and on its own so that just in case they were getting sick, they didn't get the rest of us sick. So this is kind of what happens in these spaces. We know in unity that our body's energy field is where we hold the work that we're doing. So if we are going to a space and a place that is designed to rub us raw, some of us who maybe haven't had the opportunity or taken the time for as much self-care beforehand, or who are tired, or just who happen to catch a bug, we find ourselves physically manifesting all of those symptoms that happen. So we've had this long week, and I have to tell you, I met a younger male this week while I was at Unity Village, who apparently fell madly in love with me. His name is Ezekiel. We call him Zeke, and Zeke was very attentive to my every need. If I moved, there he is, there's Zeke. So you can leave that there for a minute, Christopher. So this is a great story about self-love and about unity all wrapped into one. So this is Zeke, and you see he has a service dog vest on. I am not invading his service dog space. Here's what happened. So about a year ago, so Roxanne, who you met here, has a service dog. Zeke's aunt is Roxanne's service dog. And when the puppies were being had, there was another member of our Unity family that had a diagnosis that was saying that they were going to be in dire need of a service dog. And so this other person got Roxanne's dog's nephew, Zeke, as a service dog. As the time went on and the training had happened and Zeke was prepared to be a service dog, she had transformational healing. No more need for a service dog. So Zeke is taught. So here's these, when we love ourselves and our teachings about love teach us sometimes that we have to be selfless and we just have to give all to everyone else to be love and to, well, what can happen is we can fall into, this is one of our exercises we actually spent a lot of time in this week, role-playing and getting exhausted with, we fall or bring ourselves into the hero pattern. Now that sounds lovely. Especially ministers love to be heroes. We want to help save the world. We want to change everything that needs changing. And we want to heal everything that needs healing. And there is a dynamic that is set up for a hero. Every great hero needs two things. Every great hero needs a victim to save, and every great hero needs a villain to fight. And what happens when we set ourselves up in the hero role is we can also look unconsciously, constantly for villains and victims. Now, not only when we set ourselves up in the hero role and just live with that hat on, do we not have the bandwidth to be the hero? Because it is this selfless dynamic. I'm here for you. I can do all things for you. Except we have needs too. We need self-care too. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to step outside of this hero, victim, villain triangle and find God. Find the center. Because when we are in the center, we step out of this dynamic that needs someone to vilify and needs someone to save. And we can see through all of these roles that we all play to the God beyond, underneath, and behind each thing. It allows us to step deeper into beingness so that we don't have to find the villain, so that we don't have to create the victim so that we might save them. See, because we do that outside and inside ourselves. So if I decide that in my family, I'm the hero, I'm going to save my kids. I'm going to give them everything they need. Anything that I see wrong, I'm going to fix it for them because I'm the hero. Guess what my kids get to be? Victims and villains. When my son won't take my advice, or my daughter won't leave, or won't do it, whatever those things are, then I victimize and villainize them because I have this job to do. I got to be the hero. No. We are all, each of us, our own hero, our own villain, and our own victim. And we are invited to live beyond that, to tap into the godness that is at the core of all things. Last week, Mike shared 1 John 4:16. You can't get much simpler than this in a message in the Bible. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God and God in them. There it is. If we can, and we can, maybe we don't call it God, maybe we call it source. And maybe we don't call it love. See, because as Mike talked about last week too, we have these 12 powers in unity, and one of those powers is love. When we underuse it, it can become fixation. It can become obsession. When we use it from a density of sense consciousness and we don't allow God to come through it. Or it can be way too airy, the hero. I'm saving everyone because I love them. Here, take my arm, please. Both of those are not the centered love. Now, that doesn't mean we don't do amazing things to help people. It's motivation. We need to look at our motivation in everything that we're doing. Why are we doing that? So that you'll love me? If I'm doing something, saying that it's loving so that you will love me, I've stepped right back on that triangle. I'm either a victim, a villain, or a hero. He didn't love me. I did everything I could, and he didn't love me. Well, yeah, because you were in the victim role. We know it. We can feel them coming, can't we? Especially if you're a worker in energy. Oh boy, we feel that that vacuum cleaner headed our way. Let me take your light. Please give me your light. And it is up to us to stand in our truth, to stand within our boundaries, safely knowing that, yes, I am a part of the God that you are a part of as well. And guess what? I don't have to fix you. I don't even have to fix me. I just have to peel away all the layers that keep me from my wholeness. So that brings us back to Zeke, this lovely young man who by Wednesday had decided that I was his person. Now, as long as I stayed quiet in my seat, it was fine. But if I got up, if I said anything, if I raised, sometimes even if I raised my hand, Zeke was like, oh, I'm here. And he would come right to me, and he would not listen to his mama. And he just, I don't know what happened. And Zeke just decided, she told me on Thursday, she said, so are you just taking him home with you now, or I don't know what happened, but apparently Zeke fell madly in love with me. And so it was a fascinating dynamic to watch this dog that had been groomed to serve, who didn't need to serve anyone, watch for someone that he could serve. This hero dynamic all over him of wanting to be there for someone. Now, I don't know what I was doing or saying or vibing that made Zeke decide that I was his woman, but but it was very clear to everyone in the class, because he would go around, he was adorable. We would get up and dance or anything, and he would go around, and what you see happening here is, you know how dogs hug by leaning? It's so cool to have a big dog, and I miss big dog energy and big dog love, and maybe that's where this was coming from, but if I was standing talking to someone, as long as I was close enough, he would stay at a distance. But if I had no one in front of me, he would run right in front of me and lean. It was so amazing and wonderful. It was this unconditional loving, let me just be with you. And let me stay here with you. It made me think all week about how much we thrive with connection. Over and over and over again, we find, people say and in my opinion, wrongly, people say the antidote to alcoholism or drug addiction is sobriety. I don't agree. The antidote is connection. The antidote is knowing. And yes, those have their place. Of course, absolutely. The programs they are valuable and amazing and wonderful, powerful processes and practices put in place to help people. And the undercurrent underneath all of it is connection, support. So when we feel ourselves othering ourselves, how many times do we other ourselves? That's the reason we other others. Is the divisions that are in here that I am unwilling to heal are going to be plastered all over the faces of everyone looking at me right now. Until I am willing to reveal what needs revealing and heal what needs healing, I will find myself the hero, the victim, or the villain of my own story. And I will provide the hero, the victim, or the villain in someone else's story. Now that's the thing. See, we live through stories. We're storytellers, we're story makers. We love stories. We love heroes. We love underdogs. We love dogs. And so all of these things about us are going to continue playing out. And there's the dance. When you find the sandpaper, now that doesn't mean hang in there with someone who's abusing you because, ooh, this is hurting me, it must be good. No. That's not what we're saying. We're talking about healthy, centered boundaries and knowing and staying centered and claiming our sense of self. and knowing that we are here to do whatever it is we are here to do. For some reason, this week, or last week, still this week, it felt like 3 months, you guys. I feel like I've been gone for months since the last Sunday I was here. But there was a connection made for whatever reason with this beautiful little fairy soul that he needed to express, and apparently I needed to as well. And that coming together. I found that with people too. we have a group that came together, and we are just wonderfully supported in one another, and we are moving forward toward our ordination together, just knowing that we are here to bring each other through. But we can't love anyone else unless we love ourselves. All those conditions that we put around loving ourselves show up on everyone else we love. So until we can look in the mirror and not need to be a victim, a villain, or a hero in our own story, we're going to keep playing out that story. It's a great movie. It's a wonderful roller coaster. And it can be something that we can step back into center and observe instead of participate in. That's the goal in this spiritual learning that we're doing. Last week, Mike shared, and I wanted to share this again as well, from Charles Fillmore. God doesn't love anybody or anything. And people stop there and go, continue. God is love in everybody and everything. God is love. Man becomes loving by permitting that which God is to find expression in word and act. God loves through us. So will you be your Valentine? Will you please be your Valentine? I'm going to be mine this year. I'm going to step into loving me the best way I possibly can. Warts and all, and seeing myself through the eyes of Godness and expanding into that truth. Because if it's one thing that I am learning through this process with my cohort, is the healthier that we each are individually that are standing up here on a Sunday growing with our congregations, that the healthier we can be, the more open we can be to the love that has brought us to this moment, will bring us through this moment, and will move us forward into the future. That's how we move and become unity. That's how we look at the things that are happening in this world and live these moment-by-moment existences. I had a beautiful exchange with this man yesterday getting on the plane. He was adorable. He had a hand-crocheted hat on. He had ethnic garb, shall I say, on. He had to be on the way to something to celebrate African cultural heritage. He was beautiful. And he was a little disorganized with his suitcases. And we were all in line getting ready to board, and he got up to the line, and he dropped one thing, and then he was trying to put it back, and then he finally got it, and he put it back, and I went to bend down to help him. Am I being the hero, or am I simply seeing a soul that I can walk through a little bit easier? Motive is important. I wasn't trying to save his life. I was just trying to be with him in what I saw him experiencing. So then we got a little bit further, and something else fell out as we were walking, and so I stopped and I picked it up for him, and I started following, and I placed, this is one thing I need to learn, you guys, you can help me learn it, personal boundaries. I'm a big toucher, feeler, hugger, personal boundaries. So I put my hand on his shoulder, and the poor man about came out of his skin. And he turned around, and I said, I'm sorry. I said, sir, you dropped this. I said, and I have a feeling you're going to want it later. And it was some piece of paper wrapped up and then a rubber band. And I was teasing, and I said, it's just a rubber band. And he said, no, I need that rubber band. And I said, I get it. I said, see, you're like me. I said, because I'll have something that holds something together or has a place for something. And I need that. It may be small, but I need it. And he said, I appreciate your helping me get what I needed today. And then we struck, as we waited for everybody to board, we talked for a little bit and talked about our day and how he was a little afraid of flying, and, we had a little bit of a conversation, and he dropped something else when we got to it. So I picked it back up for him and handed it to him as we were walking on the plane, and he said, well, you were simply just put in my path today, weren't you? And I said, I hope so. I said, because you were put in mine. It's been so wonderful to meet you. I'm so glad to meet you. And we walked down, and he was about halfway into the plane, and I was near the back. And when he found his row and everything, he turned and said, can I hug you? And I said, I would love that. And so we gave a big hug, and he sat down next to this lady in his seat, and he said, bye. And I said, bye, because we go in different parts of the plane, that person's gone by the time you get out there. So look for those moments to be loved. Unmotivated by some agenda. Not needing someone to say, oh, you loved me, so now let me love you back. Just open-hearted, let me be in personage with you because I am the activity of God. Go be your Valentine. Go be loved. And let's do this thing, shall we? And so it is. Amen.
Thank you for joining us today. Please visit www.unityofsebring.org for more information, to submit a prayer request, or to donate to our ministry. We hope to see you again very soon.